In this video, I am going to show you the evolution of video games. What's up guys? I am Sandeep and you are watching Duvel. Today, video games make up $100 billion global industry and nearly two-thirds of the American homes have household members who play video games regularly. And it's really no wonder video games have been around for the decades and span the gamut of the platforms, from the arcade systems to the home consoles to handheld consoles and the mobile devices. They are also often at the forefront of the computer technology. Though video games are found today in the homes worldwide, they actually got their start in the research lab of the scientist. In 1952, for instance, the British professor A.S. Douglas created OXO, also known as Noughts and Crosses or Tic-Tac-Toe, as the part of the doctoral dissertation at the University of Cambridge. And in 1958, William created the tennis for two on a large analog computer and connected the oscilloscope screen for the annual Visitors' Day at the National Laboratory in New York. In 1962, Steve Russell at the Institute of Technology invented the Space War, a computer-based space combat video game for the PDP-1, the Program Data Processor 1, then a cutting-edge computer mostly found at the universities. It was the first video game that could be played on multiple computer installations. Dawn of the home console. In 1967, the developers at the Standards Associates Incorporation, led by Ralph Baer, invented the prototype multiplayer, multi-program video game system that could be played on a television. It was known as the Brown Box. Baer, who sometimes referred as the father of video games, licensed his device to Mongwangs, which sold the system to the consumers at the Odyssey, the first video game home console, in 1972. Over the next few years, the primitive Odyssey console could commercially fliss and die out. Yet, one of the Odyssey 28 games was the inspiration for the Atlantis Pong, the first arcade video game, which the company released in 1972. In 1975, the Atari released a home version of the Pong, which was successfully as its arcade counterpart. In 1975, Atari released a home version of Pong, which was as successful as it arcade the counterpart. Atari settled and became an Odyssey licensee over the next 20 years. The Atari released the Atari 2600, also known as the Video Computer System, a home console that features the joystick and interchangeable game cartridges that played the multicolored games, effectively kicking off the second generation of the video game consoles. The video game industry had a few notable milestones in the late 1970s and early 1980s, including the release of the Space Invaders arcade game in 1978, the launch of Activation, the first third-party game developer which develops the software without making the console or arcade cabinets, in 1979. The introduction to the United States of Japan's hugely popular Pac-Man. Nintendo, the creation of the Donkey Kong, which introduced the world to the character Mario. Microsoft release of its first flight simulator game. The video game crash. In 1983, the North American video game industry experienced a major crash due to the number of factors, including an oversaturated game console market, competition from the computer gaming, and the surplus overhyped low-quality games. Lasting a couple of years, the crash led to the bankruptcy of the several home computer and video game console companies. The video game home industry began to recover in 1985 when the Nintendo Entertainment System (NES) called Famicom in Japan came to the United States. The NES has improved the 8-bit graphics, color and sound gameplay over the previous consoles. In 1989, Nintendo made waves again by popularizing the handheld gaming with the release of 8-bit Game Boy video game device and often bundled game titles. Over the next 25 years, Nintendo would release a number of successful successors to the Game Boy, including the Game Boy Color in 1998, Nintendo DS in 2004, and Nintendo 3DS in 2011. It's important to understand the console war between the giants of the gaming industry, and that's what we cover in the next video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so that you won't miss the next one.